Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
Yes, welcome to episode 90. Big episode for us, and to bring in our 9th decade of doing this podcast, we have a guest. We are going international once again as we have Pam. You know her on YouTube as CannotBeTamed, and she is gracious enough to spend time with us tonight. How you doing, Pam?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm always happy to be a podcast guest.
Yeah, we were really excited to get you on. As I was saying right before, seen a lot of your videos. I know we're definitely going to touch on that. Little tradition here, though, is we always talk about what have we been playing recently, and more importantly, what have we been drinking. So I don't know if you're drinking anything tonight with us, or have drunk anything in the past couple of days, but
I am. I figured since the name of the channel, I had to get a beer, even though I'm not much of a beer drinker, but I am currently just drinking Muskoka Brewery's Ebb and Flow Sour, Plum and Boysenberry. Yeah, not a big beer fan, but I do like sours, so figured I would grab this, and then once I'm done this and have done that part of it, I have some ciders as backup.
Nice. Does that now, even though you're not a big beer drinker, so that seems like a more craft beer from up there. And
Yep.
Do you strictly stick with craft once you do go and try beers, or is there any macros that you enjoy?
I'll drink like a Keith's every once in a while.
Okay.
But not really. I mostly go for like sours and like fruity beers, like the least beery ones.
So you're like Jim.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of sours.
Yeah.
I like the refreshing taste of my palate. Not like Bri, who likes to lick tree bark.
Jim, you talk about flavors. I am tonight, once again, well, not once again, because you guys don't know, but Jim knows, I actually got this Dogfish Head Campfire Amplifier. It's basically the equivalent of having a s'mores flavored beer. So it's got graham crackers, cinnamon, marshmallows, milk stout, and vanilla beans. Comes in at 6.5%. It is damn tasty if you like any of those flavors. And I'm kind of already done half of it. So really, really tasty. Yeah.
And I am starting off the Christmas season early, because I'm hitting up a good old Trogs Mad Elf.
Damn, you going early.
Yeah, I figured why the hell not. They were just sitting in my fridge. 11% alcohol, 15 IBUs, so nice and smooth and full of booze. Good old Christmas tradition right here. Yeah, Pam, this was kind of like one of the big gateway drugs for like craft beer, at least in our area. Like every friend of ours who like we come across and we give it to them, even if they were just like a Miller or Coors person beforehand. You hand them this and they're like, oh, this is really tasty. And then they don't know how strong it is. They drink 3 and then they're shit-faced. So it's perfect.
Yeah, I think when we were first starting to drink, everyone has the typical macro beers, but it's funny, from one of the beers we stuck to, and it was for, I don't even know how many years, Jim, so you correct me, but the Molson Triple X, because what was that, 8%, 9%?
Along those lines.
We would be like, that's a perfect beer to pregame with instead of something that's like 4%, because then you're going to make all kinds of terrible decisions after having a couple of those. So, yeah, we did that. Terrible headaches after. Don't suggest anyone do it, but definitely made the night interesting. I'll say that.
Definitely sneak up on you when it's got double the alcohol content that you're expecting.
Oh, yeah, you're pushing wine territory there. And especially with the sours. Like, most sours seem to be a lot of alcohol, too, so with them being so tasty and delicious, they sneak up on you too. And there's been a few podcasts by the end, I'm just like, whoa, I need to wrap this up.
So, Pam, what you been playing anything interesting this past week, or anything working towards your different reviews?
Yeah, so I've been playing Hades for the last little while. I finished like my first run, and I heard that you need 10 runs to get credits. So I'm not usually a big roguelike person. Like, I'd like to play a game, finish it, and then move on to the next thing. But I really wanted to see the end. So I think I'm at like 6 successful runs now. So I'm almost there. But now when I like fail a run, I get really upset because it's like a half an hour Just feels like it's wasted now. But the game's really great. I love Super Giant. Giant? Yes. Super Giant games, and like their aesthetic and their music is always so great. So, yeah.
Did you ever play, was it Jotun?
I haven't played that one.
So that one is another roguelike. It's like a Viking-inspired game, and it's the same deal. It's got the super massive bosses, but then a whole bunch of smaller. And artistically, it's similar to Hades, although I even think it goes a step further. So everything you just talked about kind of resonated. I'm like, that would probably be a really perfect game for you to try out.
Cool.
But how long does a typical game take you, though, if you have to go through a full run?
If I have a full run, I think my best time is about 26 minutes, but it's usually like around 30 or so for a run.
Gotcha.
So, it's not too long, but when you need to do it 10 times, it starts taking a little bit long. So it's really fun, though.
Yeah, whenever you gotta do runs like that, it's like you stop appreciating, the graphics of this. Now you're just perfecting the control and the patterns. And,
Yeah, trying to do the best build, and so...
Did this convert you to a roguelike, or is this, like you said, probably not?
I always kind of dabble in roguelikes. Like, I really liked Dead Cells. Like, that was a fantastic game. But also, like, I finished that game the first time, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. And I finished that much faster than I was expecting to. So, but I was fine with it. Like, I only got 3 hours out of this. Whatever. I can move along to the next thing. So.
Nice.
So, now, Pam, the real question is, how many runs through of Dino Ricky did you do?
Many runs through Dino Ricky. That ruined my weekend, man.
Yeah, you can tell in the video, you're just like, you started off with like, I don't really bash games a lot, but this one, just fuck this game. And I was like, ooh, this one's getting real quick.
Yeah, exactly. I try to be positive, not be one of those YouTubers who's just like mad about things, but like that game really made me mad.
Now, are you similar to Jim and I, especially if you're doing a review, you're like, I have to beat it, I have to see the end, no matter how annoying it is.
Yeah.
And that like adds almost, I don't know if pressure's the right word, but it's that sense of like, now I just have to do it.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a couple games that I didn't finish. Kid Chameleon, which I didn't like at all. I didn't finish that, and I didn't... that I was fine with not finishing. This, like, I knew how short of a game it was, because I looked up a long play, and it was like 20 minutes for, of course, a no-death run, which mine definitely wasn't. But I was like, I'm so close, I can do it. Like, because I was actually going to quit at one point, and then I realized, like, I'm on the last level. Like, just power through.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned... sorry, Brian.
No. I was just going to say, Jim... Kid Chameleon, why don't you talk about that, Jim?
Oh, yeah. See, that's actually the video where I discovered you. Because, yeah, I think it was December, Brian? We were playing through that for our review. And as we're playing it, I'm like, okay, everyone loves this goddamn game. And I'm playing through it, and it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
It's slippery as hell. It just never goddamn ends. And even with save states, I was like, just retrying it. I'm like, how the hell does anyone ever beat this thing? Yeah. So I was going nuts thinking it was just me. And I'm looking through some other reviews, and I come across yours, and I'm like, yes, thank you.
Well, that's good. I'm glad someone else doesn't like it, because, that's probably the video. Actually, now it's probably Super Metroid. But that's probably the second video that I got the most hate on. Just people are like, well, you're just bad, or you have no taste in games.
There's always those good old arguments, but... Yeah, I told Jim that's a game I want him to play because he's Mr. Loves anything Genesis spits out. It could be the worst game, and Jim will love it. Look at his wall behind him. But it's one of those situations where he never played that, and as a kid, I certainly never beat it. But the concept behind that game was, that's an awesome game. And I always had rose-tinted glasses thinking of my nostalgia for how much I loved it. And then even when I played it, I was like, oh, this shit, it really is hard. I didn't just really suck as a kid. Yeah. I just can't beat this. So I don't disagree with that, but yeah, I remember like Jim's like, I hate this goddamn game. Like, I was like, but you're Mr. Genesis. What are you doing?
I was like, no, fuck this goddamn shit. And you're like, you gotta beat it. I was like, I know I have to goddamn beat it. It was my turn.
Did you finish it?
I mean, you want to say I finished it? I wouldn't say I technically beat it, but I did finish it. Now, I got through probably like a third of the game, and then I saw that there was a cheat to like get to the last boss from the first level.
Nice.
So I just did that to record the final boss, which still took me like 50 fucking tries. And then I was like, good enough, fine. I have like 6 hours of footage. That's more than enough for this review.
Yeah.
Now, Pam, what would you say of all the games you reviewed, which one did you walk away from with the most hate for?
I mean, I don't know if it's just because it's recent, but Dino Ricky is like one of the ones. Like the other one is a game that I played as a kid, which is Prince of Persia. And actually, I don't think I ever beat that one either because of that stupid timer on the game. But yeah, that's another one where I just find the controls so awkward. Like, just like jumping is so much more difficult than it needs to be. So
They had to make it cinematic.
And I'm with you there, because that was the unlock in Sands of Time if you beat it. And I was like, ooh, I get the original Prince of Persia. I never played this. And I got 10 minutes in, I was like, what the fuck is this? Why do people like this?
Yeah, it's not good. Like it was one of the first games I reviewed because I started out reviewing all the NES games I played as a kid, and I'm pretty sure as a kid, like I maybe got out of the first level, and then when I was reviewing it again, I maybe got like 3 or 4 levels in, and then I just ran out of time. So
You're like, yep, I'm done with this one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really tough, but one thing, and I know we skipped right into what we were drinking and what we're playing, but, I think one of the most interesting things with your channel and the games you review is you do have a very eclectic combination of games. You're definitely not just playing 1 or 2 different types. You're kind of like my style, where I have a bunch of different games from a bunch of different systems that it's just, and a lot of the games, like I discovered you with the Vampire Masquerade video because I love that game, and then I also saw you, like it was right around the same time I was doing the Monkey Island games because they were available on 360, so it's like, oh, I was like, okay, somebody's trying all these different games. So I was kind of curious with that, like when you started your channel, did you know, like, you basically just said, like, hey, I have these games I want to give my opinions on? Or, like, really, what was the driver when you were setting up?
So when I was setting up, I was trying to go back and revisit those games that I had played as a kid. Like, the NES was my first console. But, of course, like, I didn't have a ton of NES games. Like, I had maybe 15 games, and then occasionally I'd rent something or borrow something from a friend. So soon enough, like, it got to the point where I was out of those, or they were like game show games, which I didn't really feel needed a review. So then I just wanted to try a bunch of different things, and my interests have always been like very varied. Like I went from the NES to mostly playing PC and sort of skipping that next generation, and then going into like the PS1, PS2. So part of it is like the systems that I was interested in, and part of it was like going to systems that I had never played before. Like the Sega CD is a big one, where just like I really love FMV games, so sort of dabbling in that system and learning more about the library there. I don't have like one little niche that I like to stay in. I like to be able to review sort of anything I feel like playing.
Yeah. That the Parasite Eve, the review you did, that's a game that still haunts me, that I haven't been able to play for PS1, because I'm all about survival horror and games from that generation. And that was one of the ones I'm like, God damn, I still never played it. So I saw you, I was like, like now I really want to go try it out. But yeah, it's one of those, like you said, it's interesting because you've been on YouTube since what, 2014? Or
14 or 15?
Yeah. So, what was like? I guess we all say we have very big growing pains starting off.
Ooh.
What like? Do you ever go back, look at your old videos, and just say, oh God, like why did I do this or why did I do that? Like, what is your biggest things that if you could redo an old video, like what would you do?
I mean, the biggest things are like, I mean, two things, like the delivery for one, and then also just like the audio and video quality. Like video quality, like 6 months into making videos, someone was like, hey, your camera is focused on your bookshelf and not on you. And I was like, oh, I'll try to fix that.
Yeah.
So things like that. Lighting for sure is a big one where I didn't have much of it at the beginning. Even like looking back a year ago and to see like just my delivery, I'm like, oh man, I feel like this is so much worse than I am now.
Well, we're always critical of ourselves, but it is funny. I mean, it's like just getting comfortable in front of the camera. Jim and I've said it many times. Like, yeah, when we first started, we did everything terribly and tried to do it either way too scripted or not scripted enough. And even with the podcast, like just talking to people, like you realize you just have to do it over and over and over again until you feel comfortable. And that's what one of those things. Yeah, like you look back at old videos, and it's always like that moment you're like, oh, I can't believe, like, why did I do this? Why did anyone watch this? But no, like I it's funny because like I said, from the beginning, you definitely could tell you were getting the same message across, like you were saying. So it seems like you've stayed pretty consistent in like how you want to deliver your thoughts on the games themselves.
Yeah.
So that's always stuck pretty true. Yeah.
I think so, because I've never been like putting on a character or anything. It's always been just like, hey, I'm Pam and here's what I think about this game. So it's been pretty easy to stay consistent that way. It's just like technically and comfort wise, I think just you get better as you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually stupid jealous of your intro where you're just like, hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about video games. Fuck, that's right to the point.
Yeah.
Like, our intros are always like 4-minute like rambles that we have to edit down.
Definitely one of the
Or it used to be like a 2-minute intro video that everyone complained about. So I'm like, God, she nailed that so fast. Shit.
Yeah, I just started that like from my first video, and I was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I'll just make that my intro.
Just stick with it. Yeah. No, that's definitely a good way to be. Yeah, dude, that was one of the things. Jim, how many videos did it take for us? We got this legit intro shot by my buddy, and then people were like, your intro's too long. It's like a minute and whatever. We're like, it's good though. And then we're like, all right, we're cutting it down to like 20 seconds. And yeah, it's just one of those things you just learn.
Yeah.
And every once in a while we'll get the random comment, you should bring back the long intro. It's like, motherfucker!
There's never, ever, like, you can't please anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
For sure. And
now,
like,
Pam, we actually did, Pam, we've done the cardinal sin. So please, plug your content, plug your channels, because you actually have multiple things going on.
My channel's called CannotBeTamed on YouTube. I review various games, NES. I'm doing a lot of NES lately, mostly because they're quick, which sounds pretty lazy. But occasionally doing like longer PS1 games. I haven't done a Sega CD game in a while, but do occasional lists. I just started a series about games you should play on Game Pass because I love Game Pass.
Yes, I love that, by the way. I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah, I'm happy about that too. I like list videos, like they're easier to put together and people really like them. So it's like the best of both worlds. So that's the big thing. I'm on Twitter at Jasyla_JASYLA, which I just haven't thought of a better name for. And then I'm on Instagram, cannot_be_tamed. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, and all the links are definitely below for everything. But you also have...
You have a makeup channel.
Yeah.
Plug that as well.
Yeah, I have a makeup channel too. It's called Cosmetic DLC. Which...
My wife listens, so she might enjoy that. So
okay.
I think we sneak in a few female listeners every once in a while. So
well, that's good. Yeah, my makeup channel is still very, very small, and like 90% of my viewership is just like guys who watch my video game videos, and they're like, I don't know anything about makeup, but I watched this. I'm like, well, thanks for the support.
you're like, thank you. Please tell your girlfriends and wives. And
Sometimes I get my wife really liked this, so.
So that's my question. So now that you are, you're doing the makeup channel too, do you find, and you know better than anyone, and you're obviously doing tremendously well with your YouTube for CannotBeTamed, but like starting off new again, it's like that slow crawl, doing the effort. And do you find yourself now like having kind of competing interests? Like, okay, what do I want to spend my time on? The makeup channel or the video games? Like, is it kind of a struggle to schedule that stuff?
It's not too bad, actually. Like, my video games channel is obviously like my main focus, but there's a certain amount of synergy there because I like to match my makeup to the game that I'm reviewing when that makes sense to me. So a lot of the times I will film a makeup video doing my makeup and then film my video game video. So they kind of work together in a sense.
Yeah. Now here's the real question. Once all the COVID's done and things get back to normal, can you do a makeup tutorial just for Jim? So when we do certain things, Jim can be painted up real nice and pretty like.
Sure. Any particular requests? Any color schemes, looks? Like?
Right, I'll leave this one with you because it'll just be like a haircut.
Yeah,
you know better than me. You just do something.
No, it'll be tied to a very specific game, Jim. Don't you worry. I have ideas.
I'm sure it will. Let's start a YouTube page, Jim. Oh, sounds like a good idea.
No, but that is awesome. And once again, if you haven't already, check the links below. Follow Pam everywhere where we have the links, and help spread the word of her cosmetics DLC channel on YouTube. Because that initial just starting a YouTube channel.
Starting is hard. Every once in a while I go back to my game channel because I made videos like 1,000 subscribers, 5,000 subscribers, and just seeing like how long it took to get to those points. Like it's slow at the beginning for sure.
Yep. We're 7 years later.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I was lucky. I mean, the fact that I'm a woman and there's not that many women doing it definitely helped. But like my vampire video and then my AVGN appearance in like the same 2 months kind of like really helped.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, so what spawned that? Like, how did that even come about?
The AVGN thing?
Yeah.
I guess they were just wanting to highlight various creators, and I'm friends with Erin Plays, and she was like, hey, someone asked if you want to be in this video, and I was like, sure.
That's awesome.
Hey, you can't beat that kind of promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, because, that Jim and I have said many times, one of the biggest influences for when we started was AVGN, and I'm kind of curious with your channel, did you have anyone specific that like you saw and you're like, I think I can do this, or I want to do that?
I think Pushing Up Roses was one that was a bit of an influence on me, seeing her like adventure game reviews and things, wanting to do that. And then a part of it was honestly just like, hey, there's not a lot of women in this space and I want to be there and be visible. So that was part of it as well. Yeah,
no, that's awesome though. I mean, I always say, I think so, you always get inspired by, it can be something random or whatever. A lot of people, especially game reviews, is usually like, I see how they're doing it, but I think I could do a little better. Or I think my way makes a little more sense. So there's a little bit of a, I can do this. So
yeah, well, I'd been like blogging about video games for a number of years before, so I was just like, I don't know, I feel like I was always like a little bit behind. Like I was still blogging when everyone else was making videos, and I switched to videos, and then everyone is streaming, and like.
Any thoughts on trying your hand at that?
Not really. I don't know. I can't just be entertaining on my own live for hours. Like, that sounds exhausting.
Jim and I have said some of those people, the energy level, it's impressive. I'll say that, man. It's
a skill we don't share.
Well, it's one of those things I do recognize. I said one of the things I've handicapped myself with is I've played so many horror games, which are my favorite type of games, by streaming them. And having my first time playing through a game like that while I'm trying to focus on the camera or it takes you out of the game completely. So it's like, I would suggest, like, if you're going to do it with a game you're really comfortable and you can kind of just sit back and relax. Because if you're doing a brand new game, you might either, A, look like you have no idea what the hell you're doing in the game, which happens to me all the goddamn time. Or you're just like, you get done the game and you're like, oh, I don't really remember much of the game itself.
Yeah, that's what I worry about. Like, so many times in a game, like, I'll get stuck and I will, like, just look up a walkthrough on my phone. Yeah. Like, that's not compelling content. And, like, I'm not naturally a very, like, reactive person. Like, I can be very angry at a video game. If you were watching me, you wouldn't really know it. So, like, I don't know. I don't feel like I have that kind of personality to do that.
Yeah, Brian can pull it off pretty decently. Every once in a while, like a couple years ago, I would randomly just throw up a stream, and I'd be that guy who'd be sitting there on camera just going, shit. And then, like, dead air for, like, another 10 minutes. Damn it. Dead air for another 20 minutes. I was like, okay, not my strong suit.
I think that's what I would be like, yeah.
Now, Pam, to circle back to your makeup channel real quick. So, I listened to your last episode of your old podcast, Media Mavens, and you were talking, it's funny you talk about on there, you and your co-host spent like 20 minutes talking about like the YouTube drama scene with makeup people and shit like that. Has any of that crossed over to you since you've started this makeup channel, or are you still enough off the radar, no offense obviously, with not having all that shitstorm thrown on you?
No, I'm definitely far too small to be involved in any of that on the makeup channel, so.
What, you don't want the James Charleses and the Toddy Westbrooks coming at you?
No, I don't think I need their 14 million subscribers or whatever.
For the love of God, that just sounds like a nightmare to me. Also, that's probably the best title for a podcast episode to go out on, of Get Off the Internet.
That's true. That's true. I didn't even think of that.
The YouTube drama is definitely real. And, yeah, I mean, other than the hate you would get for bad-mouthing any games, like you were saying, the Kid Chameleon or Metroid or Super Metroid, what kind of other BS is something that you're just like, man, if I didn't have to deal with this would make YouTube so much more enjoyable?
I mean, I guess there's always sort of like little drama between creators. Like, honestly, any of the drama channels in general are just kind of, it would be better if they weren't around, just like magnifying things that ultimately aren't that big of a deal, or just, I don't know. People have a tendency to take things really personally when I don't think they're meant that way by the people saying them. Just, just little human things.
Oh, yeah. People, I mean, one of the biggest reasons those things are so successful, it's like anyone. If you're walking down the street, you see people fighting, everyone stops and looks. Like, it's intriguing to see some type of conflict. And online, it's like there's this, because it also, if you see, one of my favorite YouTubers is having a very human moment and getting in a heated exchange with somebody, it like brings it down to reality, and it's like, you can paint all of your insecurities on top of that shit. And
exactly.
It does suck when you see that become so popular, but unfortunately that's it's kind of what humans are great at, highlighting that negativity.
Yeah. And also with, like, I don't know, just comments. Like, I make mean comments videos, which some people are like, just ignore them. But I'm like, I have to have some fun with them if I'm going to read them. But, like, I like 90% of my comments are fantastic and my viewers are good. But, occasionally just general harassment over video game opinions or being a woman or, like, whatever happens to upset someone.
Yeah. No, people can be real ballsy when they're hiding behind the keyboard, and that's one of those, like you said, 90% are great, 10% or whatever. Now, I'm curious, where you're at now. Do you still, because, Jim and I will still every day, like, we'll check notifications, let's read through the comments. Are you still able to do that, or do you bother doing that anymore, or is it just like, if I can get to it, I get to it?
No, I still read every single comment. Sometimes it takes me a while. Like, sometimes I'll post a video and then I won't read the comments for like 3 days or something. But no, I still read all of them. I don't respond to every comment anymore because that's not really feasible, but I respond to a lot of them. So
yeah. No, good on you for sticking with that, because, I mean, there is that approach of either don't respond at all or try to respond to everything, and then it just can become overwhelming, especially when you get some shitheads. But I like the way you are dealing with it, like Jim said. I do love the reading mean comments.
I mean, she's making lemons out of lemonade. It's like, oh, here's some easy content I can just throw up there.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've always got friends to like help out and read the comments for me, so it's nice. Actually, I've had many people like, "Oh, I didn't know you were like taking volunteers to read these comments. I'll be in the next one." Like,
like, my life's even easier now. This is great.
yeah.
Now, have you ever had a human moment yourself where just one comment got to you and you just like kind of just let all your spaghetti fly and like a comment back to them, and then you go a day later, look at it and go, God damn it.
So I've had like a couple, not very many comments that get to me, and then I usually just like delete them. If they get to me, I won't respond to them. I will just like quietly block the people. But I have this really bad tendency to, when someone leaves a comment I think is stupid, like I want to just like respond immediately, and I have to tell myself like, all of these people ahead of this person left nice comments. You should really reply to them first. But like, I definitely have this like attitude of like, oh yeah, like just like jump in there on the negative stuff.
So it's not just all Canadian politeness. There's still that little anger behind there.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Me and Brian been a little too guilty of just not responding with just straight "fuck you," but you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, Jim, I'll give Jim credit. He always tries to do a witty spin, and I'm always like, no, just fuck this guy. I'm like, I'll just respond back in the pure, like, flash in a moment, like, go fuck you. Like, it'll be very simple, but it'll be very direct. But Jim will try to make some kind of joke of it. And, yeah, it is funny, because like you said, you'll read those, and you'll spend so much more time thinking about how you want to respond, but then all the nice ones, you're just like, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, like, chill on replying immediately to those comments. But, yeah, sometimes I'll try to be witty. Sometimes it's just satisfying to do a go fuck yourself. Like, it's... but, yeah. I'm trying to do those comments. Although sometimes I'm just really petty and I'll just pin the stupid comment so that everyone else can respond to it for me.
I've done this.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, there you go. That's an even better way to handle that. You're like, and guys, you don't have to go bug this person, but here's their username and comment right here. Yeah, that's an awesome way. But no, I do got to say though, speaking of things we love, Jim, what are our Patreon questions of the week?
Well, Brian, funny you should ask, because at patreon.com/DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, where for as little as $2 a month, you can ask a question that we will answer on each and every single one of these Power Hour podcasts. First up comes to us from our buddy, Gamer Astral. Why did you let me miss a question again, Jim? God damn it. So every time before a podcast, a day off, I'll put a little reminder up for the patrons to put a goddamn question out so they can get their money's worth. And I forgot last time, and I haven't heard the end of it since. So,
Well, Jim, stop forgetting. Come on.
I know. But his follow-up one, what do you prefer, the PS2 Slim or the Fat PS2?
I mean, me, I think it's pretty easiest. It's just you know me, I'm not the collector guy between the two of us, Jim, so I'm going Slim because it's more economical of my space, and I've had less issues with it, surprisingly, when it comes to memory cards and disc reads. Like, sometimes I had issues with the Fat Boy, so, yep, I'm going Slim with mine.
Pam?
I'm going to go Slim as well, even though my last Slim, the optical drive or whatever, stopped working. But now I'm using a Fat Boy, and it's really loud, the fan on it, and it's driving me crazy. So I like the Slim.
Yep. Woo woo. Good answer.
And I'm
Jim?
going to be the contrarian. I'm going to say the fat boy because it's looking at me right now, and I don't want to make it mad
so
after 20
shocked.
years. Look, he's still there and working. I have to be nice.
No, you don't.
But I actually think I think it has a spot for like a hard drive expansion, and I think it has a little bit more features. So I don't know. Mine still works, so I'm going to go with what I know.
Jim, all features of things you never used?
It's regardless. That doesn't matter. It's not important.
Good question, Astral, and I'll make sure Jim doesn't screw up again.
Yeah. I was a good boy this week. Next up, from Game Whisperer Dean. Would you like a nice segue to the topic of the Google Stadia giveaway? That's it. Enjoy the free segue. Why, thank you.
Yeah. Jim, I'll let you take off with that one.
All right, so for those who don't know, Google Stadia is a thing. Not exactly doing great. So they recently did a little promotion where anyone who is a YouTube Premium subscriber up to like the certain point, I think it was like November 1st, if you were already a YouTube Premium subscriber, you could actually apply to be sent a free Stadia kit. So they would send you the Ultra Chromecast and the controller. And a free month, I believe, and a free month of Stadia. I mean, I have YouTube Premium, so I signed up for it. So I'm waiting on mine to come in.
Oh, you are? Nice.
Yep. So I'll be able to do a review, play around with it a little bit, and then cancel it before I have to pay for it. It's perfect.
Pam, do you use any of that stuff?
No, I've never done anything with the Stadia.
Yeah. I mean, Jim, what can it actually do? Because I thought it was pretty much a flop.
I mean, it is pretty much a flop. I think this is just like a very not so transparent way for Google to say, oh, look, our subscriber base went up 300% in the fourth quarter of 2020. And it's a smart move because it's a thing no one uses. Basically, it's like you're using your Chromecast, streaming games from servers right to your TV. From, like, speaking of Astral, he actually did the same thing, and he lives in New Mexico, so he got his already. And he's like, yeah, I haven't experienced any lag. It actually works pretty nice. And then I asked him, is he going to keep it? And he went, hell no. So I think the biggest problem, we talked about it before, is, like, yeah, it's a streaming service, which is cool. But then you're still charging people $60 full price for the games that you're using on the service. And that's where I think they kind of fucked themselves. It's like, either a streaming service like Netflix, or you're just going to be a download service that, if it's a failure, it could always just randomly go away and you're out all this money now. So there's definitely a give and take there. But yeah, get a basically free Google Stadia setup, I'll go for that. Couldn't resist.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, especially if you're someone who has either of the two modern consoles, if you have Xbox Game Pass or you have whatever the PlayStation, I always forget the equivalent that they have. The amount of games they release, and especially Game Pass, like the number of games available, and with the purchasing of Bethesda, how their quality is just spiked so much more. Honestly, I don't know how often I'm going to be buying new games because there's so much available to me at that price. That's like, what, $10 a month, if that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty damn worth it. So yeah, Stadia seems pretty silly. And Pam, I know you're a big fan of the Xbox Game Pass, so it's
Yeah, I love the Game Pass. I don't know. I feel very like hesitant to open myself up to new platforms. Like I kind of just want to focus on the ones I already have.
What do you mean? You mean you already have how many now that you've played through?
Yeah.
Or that, I mean, are you still an avid, like, as you said, you do have the games you love, but on some of the older consoles, you find yourself like trying to collect a lot more since you've started the channel, in hopes of doing content, and that kind of draws you away from other things?
Yeah, I definitely collect more games than I probably would otherwise, just looking for like, oh, this looks like interesting, I'd like to review this someday. And so yeah, I don't know, my collection is like in really nice shape right now, where it's all things I want or have played or am planning to play. So yeah, doing the collecting, also trying to like keep it at a certain size, so like if I want something new, I'm gonna trade something else in for it. So yeah.
So you're not just being a shelf collector like some people.
Yeah. I try to only get what I actually want. So.
And what you'll actually play. Nice. That's the kind of collector I like. Jim.
Yeah.
What? It's goddamn shelf collectors. Scum of the earth they are.
That whole Wii collection to the right of you, Jim.
What? It's a beautiful Wii collection. Great system. Great console.
I keep looking at that Musha and that Truxton. I don't have those.
I mean, you can gladly overpay for them.
No, Jim is one of those, like, he buys something, and even though it could probably have a crazy value, he holds on to every game, whether he plays it or not. And I'm much more like you, where I'll trade in. I'll be like, okay, I have a smaller collection, but I'll trade in easily if I find out, like, oh, something's worth some money and I'm not going to play anymore. Okay, I'll get rid of it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, even my more rare things, some of which I wish I had held on for longer, but like Rule of Rose, like, I did a Let's Play of it, I did a review of it, I played the whole thing, and then I was like, I don't want to play this anymore, so I'm going to sell it.
And of course, no one can predict the pandemic hitting and then inflation hitting video games and everything doubling and tripling. So it's like, shit, I should have kept that 6 more months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always had that weird mindset. I've only ever traded in 3 games in my life. So if I wind up with it, I've just always held on to it and find space for it. Maybe to my detriment? I don't know. It's good. Makes me happy. Leave me alone. I hate you.
That's why you like the PS2 Fat Boy, Jim.
Hey, that goddamn bastard still works after all these years. So I will never besmirch my beloved Fat Boy.
All right,
But not a good one,
thank
Dean.
you for the question, Dean.
And actually, if you had snuck another one in there, have you ever felt the need to blow vape smoke into a console? I do now. I need clout, damn it.
Nope. Can't say I have, Dean. Damn it.
See, I need to start blowing vape smoke into my CDI and starting that gimmick. I'm sure people float it just like they did with the Xboxes. I'm very topical.
Damn it, Jim. Damn it. Damn it.
But next up, from Eric Lewacki, what will it take you both to make the jump to invest in a VR headset?
It being dirt cheap? I mean, I don't know. Like, is there any out there that don't require a crazy good PC to run them?
The PlayStation VR, basically. Unless you get, like, those Samsung headsets to work off your phone.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, like, if you want to play, like, I've seen some sets that play, like, really, really impressive games. I don't know how many great games are on the PlayStation that are VR only, because honestly, I don't care enough about... If it's a title I can play just regularly, I don't need to make that leap to VR. But it's just a matter of if I wanted to go out and put out, whatever, $2,000 for a rig and then get VR, then I would do it. But yeah, it's low on my list right now. I'll say that. It looks really cool, but just not my forecast for a while.
What about you, Pam?
Yeah, I'm not really big into the VR. I have had a PSVR at one point. I am not the one in my household who bought it. It's like a cool thing to try. Like, I played Until Dawn Rush of Blood, which is way too scary to play in VR. And like the little like experience ones, like where you go down and under the ocean and you see like sharks and stuff, and like it's cool, but like I don't want to play games like that. Like, I don't want to play a 10-hour game with a VR set on. It's heavy, it's uncomfortable, I can never get it to focus properly until the technology evolves to a place where it's like sunglasses you slip on with no cords. Like, I don't need it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for just augmented reality to really be the thing, and just skip over the VR, because that would be more interesting.
Yeah,
what about you, Jim?
And I kind of talked about this with Izzy when we had him on. And basically, we just need more, like, quote-unquote real games to implement VR. Kind of like how Resident Evil 7 did, where you can play that whole game in VR, and it's a completely different experience to the end user. So I think if more games tried to go that route, then it would probably be more interesting instead of just random games where a very small handful are actually worth putting your time into.
Yeah, it's tough, and you got to start thinking of games in that first-person perspective, because that's the only way it's really going to work. And honestly, outside shooters right now, or some of the new horror games, like Pam said, Until Dawn, and you just said Resident Evil 7, that's got to be the major focus of developers too. make enough games that people want to come over to it. Like, what was that? What was that game, Jim? We talked about the Half-Life. That new game was going to be VR only, right?
Yeah, I mean, it came out as far as I know, and it wasn't that killer app that the Vive needed. Now the Vive, you need $1,000 in equipment to have work pretty well, so that doesn't help.
But that's what I mean. You need titles like that. Keep doing that shit, and it'll drive people to getting VRs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if they wanted to really draw people in, they would have just called it Half-Life 3, and that would have been the thing that would have drawn people in. But yeah, I guess everyone went, why am I going to spend $1,500 to play a spin-off? So yeah, it wasn't the killer app they expected it to be. Or even did they expect it? I don't know. It just kind of came and went.
No, good question, Eric. We appreciate it, bud. And if you have VR you want to send us, you can always do that.
Yeah, we also have a $10 tier on the Patreon that if everyone put into, we could probably get some VR sets for
Damn it, Jim.
But last up from Alex Perez. What is some of your favorite junk food to eat while gaming or otherwise?
Ooh,
Funny
Pam,
he should ask
why don't
after
you
the
go first?
after the midnight release
The
we had.
feast. Yeah.
Potato chips are my favorite junk food just to eat any time ever. So I would say that, yeah, I don't eat that much junk food. But, potato chips, I can eat those all day and play video games. The controller gets all greasy.
Of course, yeah. What's your favorite flavor, though? That's the real question.
Salt and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar. Okay, nice. Now, do you do the baked or do you just do straight?
No, like the fried ones.
The fried, okay.
The worst ones.
No. Yep. Yeah, Jim and I just did that the COD midnight release, and I gotta say, every time my go-to is Doritos. Or I would say chips, but Doritos for some reason, that seems like the thing I've had all my life. If I do play games. Yeah, I'm not really I don't sit and I don't eat candy. There's nothing really else when I think of junk food that I would want to eat while playing a video game anyway. But yeah, Doritos is my go-to.
Beef jerky. I had a goddamn half-pound bag that was supposed to last me a week, and I ate it in an hour and a half during the midnight release. So,
but Jim, is that really junk food?
So much protein, so little fat.
it's true. I mean, it's pretty good. If it wasn't for the 15,000 billion things of sodium, it'd be perfect. So, but now I'm also, potato chips. I'm a big potato chip guy. Or just randomly nosh it on leftovers. But even whether it's good beef jerky or shit beef jerky, like fucking Slim Jims, I'll just go through them all.
Jim, you sit down with your plate of spaghetti every time you play games. Who are you kidding?
Brian, it's not always Sketties. But it is Sketties a lot of the time.
Is. That or your leftover Taco Bell. Who are you kidding?
Hey, man's got to eat.
Thank you, Alex. That's a good question. And anyone who is listening, please make sure you comment below. What's some of your favorite snacks? Or is it one of our three? And vote Jim as the worst answer.
How dare you, sir? And actually, spinning off a little bit off of our Call of Duty release, Pam, we have a little segment that we like to go into called Gamers Mad, where, as they tend to do, the gamers on the internet, well, they might tend to freak out a little bit over something that's, some could say trivial, doesn't really matter, maybe embarrassing the entire community. But this one I don't think truly qualifies, but our buddy G asked us to touch on it. So, in the new Call of Duty, when you do your create a character, you have 3 selections. You have male, female, and non-binary. And thankfully, not that many people freaked out about the non-binary part. But of course, there were the people like Ian Miles Chong who had to make his fucking little, I don't remember non-binary people in Korea in the 60s. Like, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. So, of course, there's a little bit of a shitstorm coming off there with that. So, the real question is, does anyone really care that much? Luckily, in his comment section, it was a good 50-50 split between pretty much bashing him and just telling him to fuck off, and the occasional people going, oh yeah, this is stupid, but...
I saw a tweet about that. It was like, oh good, I can be a non-binary war criminal.
Yeah.
I
can finally be non-binary and kill zombies with my ray gun.
I did not, until you just said it how you said it, Jim, I didn't understand what was even the point of people getting upset. But really, like, number one, as someone who plays all the Call of Duty shit, no one cares about goddamn authenticity from the campaign of Call of Duty. And the fact that that's something they're trying to latch on to. Now, here's the deal. That guy you mentioned, Jim, you know I'm not a Twitter guy, so I don't know who the hell he is.
You're lucky.
But is he just trolling people with that? Did he know it would get a response, and he's probably doing it for that reason?
Oh, he completely did for that. He's a classic grifter. He's been around for fucking ages. So, like, during Gamergate, he was hardcore lefty, but, you know, like, doubling down triple on, like, whatever Sarkeesian would say. You know,
and then he switched right in the middle of it.
Yes, he did. You're correct. And now he's far right, fucking whatever, you know, blah, blah thing of the day that people either wouldn't care about or it would be a little bit more of a quote-unquote woke issue. He'll just go the opposite to be contrarian and a grifter. It gets him attention. So he has no firm standing, but he is a classic grifter. He's actually a top-tier grifter if that's what you're going for. But, yeah, he's also just, he's a pain in the ass. So
he's equivalent to, like, the drama channels on YouTube.
Basically.
Yeah, in a way. But even then, for the most part, we'll just look at him and just go, dude, shut the fuck up.
Another good reason why I pretty much stay off Twitter, Jim. I'm glad you get to see these interactions and I don't.
Heavy wears the crown, Brian.
All right, so before we move on to any topics, first let's talk about the beers we already had. And starting with Pam, how'd you like that sour?
The sour was actually delicious. Not used to having canned beers that I like, but yeah, the plum and boysenberry, perfect. I greatly enjoyed it. I should have bought more than one. After the sour, I had this shiny apple cider rosé, which I claimed I didn't like, and then I drank in about 5 minutes. So now, no, I've still got a little bit of it left. But next is a Brickworks rosé cider, which is another local cider.
So I'm seeing a pattern there. So is rosé cider, is that your go-to when you try ciders, or do you try all different types?
I try all different types. My favorite cider is actually just like a regular apple cider. It's called No Boats on Sunday, and it's like these giant bottles that cost like $5 a bottle at the beer store. But I don't know. I was just drawn to the pink this time.
We've commonly said, and I mean, I don't know how bottle shops work in like Toronto, but my God, it's almost like being a kid and going for renting a video game. Nowadays, the can design looks like cover art, and you're kind of like, oh man, like I'm just gonna try this. I don't know if it's any good, but the goddamn cover art looks great, and the can looks amazing.
Yeah. There's a cider
really,
I was looking at that it just has those like really like Halloween-y art on it, like just like silver, like black against the silver with like a kind of creepy tree design, and I was thinking of that one. But yeah, there's so much good art.
That's right up my alley. Horror and Halloween stuff. That's me. So yeah, if you find that, you gotta let us know what it is, because
I will.
I gotta find that. But what about you, Jim? How's those big beefy Mad Elves treating you?
They are treating me just well. Beer and a half in, Mad Elf has always been one of my all-time favorites. So, yeah, this goes down dangerously smooth for 11%. So tomorrow will be fun. And actually, Pam, pro tip for you: if you enjoy your sours, there are subscription boxes out there, and one I've been using lately is called Craft Beer Kings, and you can set up to have them send you a whole mix pack, or you can go specific types. So you can get 12 different, I don't know if it ships to Canada, though. Hopefully it does. But you can get 12 different sours from around the country sent to you every single month.
Oh, that sounds good.
Jim, I'm sure it gets shipped to Canada. It's not a goddamn third world.
I'm hoping the one I did, that original Craft Beer Club, I think was just USA only. So it depends on the service. So
some
hopefully
don't.
It does.
Or if you do want it shipped to Canada, the shipping is more than the cost of the actual product.
Yeah.
Is beer shipping weird there too? Because we live in a state, like we live in the stupidest state when it comes to beer shipping. Like there's all these weird restrictions, or like the way it's packaged. So is it like that where you live too?
I've never ordered beer, so I can't tell you, but...
That's actually a great point. Never mind.
Touché. But yeah, we still somehow have weird Puritan laws from the 1700s that includes alcohol. So, like, we say it all the time. It wasn't until like 5 years ago that we could buy beer in a grocery store. Like, it used to have to be like a separate store from everything else.
We couldn't buy alcohol in grocery stores until pretty recently here. Like, we have the LCBO, which is the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, and that's where most of the alcohol was, and then there was a beer store. But yeah, in grocery stores it was a fairly new thing. Although I remember once I went to Indiana with my World of Warcraft guild, and I went into a store on a Sunday, and there was all this alcohol on the shelves, and I like picked up the alcohol to like stock up for the week, and they're like, "Oh, it's Sunday. We can't sell you this." I was like, excuse me? Like, because, like, at the liquor store here, like, if you can't sell me this, the store is closed.
Yeah.
That would make sense, though.
Yeah.
Now, wait, Pam, I need 1 second. I need to rewind. So you said Indiana for your World of Warcraft guild. What was the guild name?
Arm of Hades.
Nice. And was that your first time to the States?
Oh, no. I've been to the States many, many times since I was a
Okay.
kid. Yeah.
I was going to say. If that
My
was your
first time to Indiana.
Yeah. Neither of us have ever been there, so that's what I was going to say. That's a rough place to start.
Fine, there's so much to do in Indiana, though. Why have we not gone there?
Well, you can't drink on Sundays, Jim, so what are you talking about?
That's a good point. Touché.
No, but that's, yeah, there's too many weird things. I know, well, we went to Montreal for a buddy's bachelor party, and obviously I think we could buy alcohol at every corner there, so completely different situation than where you're at.
Yeah. Quebec is much looser with the alcohol. Now, like, we can get it in the grocery store. Only, like, beer and wine, like, not liquor. But, yeah, it's definitely difficult to get some alcohol.
Now, Pam, it seems like Quebec hates the rest of Canada. Does the rest of Canada hate Quebec, or is that just a meme?
No, it's mutual.
So it's like Paris and France, where everywhere else in France they hate Paris, and Parisians usually hate everyone else.
Oh, I didn't know that. But no. Generally, Anglo-Canadians don't like Francophones, and Francophones feel very put upon by the rest of Canada. So, yeah.
So it's a healthy relationship is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Yeah, and Jim,
I mean, they keep trying to separate from the country, so...
So they're like North Ireland. That's all there is to it. Jim, now here's a question. So you said you are on your third, or you're gonna be getting to your third with that?
Gonna be on my third.
Okay. So yeah, I'm now on my third for this campfire, and like I said, I mean the flavors. What's not to love about s'mores in a beer? So 6.5% really isn't bad, and for a stout, it actually doesn't sit too heavy. Like usually you get those kind of almost like milkshake stouts where you're like, oh, I'm full, but these ones are pretty light. And I don't know if Dogfish Head, if you can ever find those up near you, Pam, but they make some of the most interesting sounding beers, like with the ingredients. Like they'll go back and be like, this was made according to the Egyptian law of the first brew ever made, and like they'll get the actual ingredients. Like they go deep with this stuff. So if you can ever find Dogfish Head, I would recommend it.
I will keep an eye out for it. But I actually had questions because, like, I'm a big wine drinker. And so wine, like, you know, a lot of the time you'll be like, oh, it tastes like blackberries and chocolate and leather.
Yep.
And it's like, those
Leather.
things aren't actually in the wine. Like,
No.
no one's, like, throwing shoes into the barrel where it's, like, fermenting. But, like, with beer, like, is there chocolate in the stout?
So no, what you'll usually get is within the malts themselves. So the malts are what are going to give you the more chocolate or like coffee or cocoa flavor, like especially once they get roasted. And then a lot of it comes down to the type of yeast being used when it's fermenting. So that's what releases most of the flavors, especially when you get your citrus flavors. Now, sometimes for aromatics, like someone will straight up throw a bag of oranges or grapefruits in there, and it'll give it a lot of flavor. But because of the way it gets boiled and stuff, those flavors go away. So it comes down usually just to the yeast, the type of hops you're using, and the malts themselves are what really control more of the savory flavors, I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like wine. You will get people that they'll do the little, and they'll like put it in their mouth, and they'll be like, "Oh, you gotta let it warm on the palate." And it's funny because it sounds ridiculous, but as Jim and I have said, after trying now, like I don't know, over 1,000 different beers, I can now say, like, yeah, I do taste it, and I hate using the same verbiage that everyone uses, but it's like, oh, this one's bready. Like, I don't know how the hell to describe bready until you try enough beers.
Right.
So but like I said, this one, whew, you can definitely taste cinnamon, chocolate. I don't really get marshmallows, but you get vanilla. So, like I said, it tries to mimic the flavors of a s'more, and it's pretty damn good.
So, Brian, when we try the unicorn fart, we have to see if it tastes like a unicorn fart.
Damn it, Jim.
What does a unicorn fart taste like?
Apparently sour, because it's a sour ale, so you would actually probably like it.
Oh.
I love the head down, very quiet, like, what the hell is he talking about?
She's like, what the fuck? What did I come on to?
She's like, I'm sorry, guys, this is over.
Got work, but...
The unicorn fart, like some of these people,
they're a little
the
too
flavors
creative
they'll
with their
throw.
names.
Yeah, well, they'll do that, or one of the worst beers we've ever had. We always say is it's this one called D-Rise, and it's literally meant to taste like crabs, salty crabs. So
why?
Exactly.
It's from Maryland, so they're known for their crabs, and basically they just took a shitload of Old Bay and threw it into their batch. That's kind of what it tastes like.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you've really had Old Bay that much, but...
What's Old Bay?
It's like a special salty kind of like spice mixture. It's mostly used on for crabs for seasoning.
And seafood,
okay.
yeah.
And seafood. And in Philly, we have like this local chain called Chickies and Pete's that throws it on their fries, so they call it crab fries. So it's supposed to give kind of the sensation of eating crab, but... I mean, it doesn't really, but like you just like start to mentally mindfuck yourself into thinking they're related, so...
But who wants to drink a goddamn beer and taste salt? And that's what you taste when you do it. So when you were asking, do people add ingredients? Like, that's one situation. Nope, they straight up added it, and it was terrible decision.
For all the beautiful jalapeno beers we've had.
Yeah, exactly. But, Jim, speaking of terrible beer decisions...
Speaking of beers, now, actually, before we get into this, Pam, did you get a chance to read the 2 beer articles I sent you?
I did.
Okay.
I don't know that I have a lot to contribute about them.
No, you don't have to. You don't really have to like jump into the specifics of it. I just want to know. I really want to know from a guest. What are you, with being a complete outsider? What are your impressions of the head stone brewer guy? Like the Grey Coke, he did that whole rebuttal in the second article that I had sent.
I mean, like, he seemed like he was standing up for, like, the little guy, the little brewer at first, and then not.
And then he went the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like Ian Miles Chong, just like flip sides, right in the middle of things.
That is a great comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the long story behind that, so the head master of Stone Brewing, we've been talking about it. It's a recurring beer story. Because, like, talking about beer stories on a podcast is, like, kind of boring because you either go full bore and go, oh, this brewery's releasing this one today. Gives a shit. Or you can go for, like, any kind of real thing where Stone Brewing was suing Keystone Light for copyright infringement, basically. So this has been a thing going on for, like, 3 years. Brian and I have talked about it for ages. And he always painted himself as the little guy fighting against the super mega corporation. So now it appears the story's flipped, as you've said, And anyone who tries to use the name Stone in any way whatsoever, he's going after them with the banhammer, basically.
Copyright trolling makes me so mad.
It's so ridiculous.
Especially as a YouTuber?
Yeah, like, find something else. Like, did you create the word stone? No? Fuck off. Like...
Exactly. That's what we were looking for. Like,
That's what we needed.
Yeah.
but this guy, like, number one, he's acting like Stone Brewing is the equivalent of, like, Bethesda in terms of, like, how big they are. Like, they're... I mean, maybe I'm overblowing it a little bit, but...
Well, they're like the number, like, what, 6 or 9 in the country? Like, they're up there. Like, when it comes
they could
to,
be
like...
considered macro at this
When
point.
it comes to craft, they're, like, one of the top, like, distributors of craft.
Yeah. And so I'm fine. You want to punch up and you want to go after Keystone because I always forget, Jim. Are they associated with Miller or Anheuser-Busch?
Course.
Coors. Okay. So fine. Go after the bigger guy because you feel like they could be doing this. But now some guy called Saul Stone. Yeah, if you're going to have Stone in your name, all of a sudden you own the rights to all that shit. It's like...
No.
I almost want to make my own brewery. Just call it like Shitstones. I don't care what it's called, but like I just want to be like, you know what, like F you, dude. Like, you don't own the name Stone anymore. And just because it's in my name, people aren't going to get confused by your beer that has a big demon head on it and mine that has like a little, you know, hop,
hop.
that looks like a pine cone. It's ridiculous that he's going after them like that. And I'm like, ugh, it's already shitty enough for these guys, especially during COVID where all these breweries are closing. And you got to double down with your dickishness. Like, yeah,
Yes.
this guy, man, he can...
So, for people listening, so the first article that we listed below, and you can look at that in descriptions. So, basically, Stone Brewing, as we've talked about before, has been going after Keystone because they split up the name Key and Stone. Oh, we own the name Stone. The fuck you know. So, that's been a 3-year lawsuit at this point. And now it turns out that Stone Brewing is going after all the little guys, as Pam and Brian have said, and they've apparently put out 100 patent disputes and claims for any kind of microbrewery using the name Stone.
They must have the most bored lawyers in the fucking world. Like, what are you doing?
They have
You're
the
supposed to
happiest
make
lawyers in
beer.
the world because they get paid either
They
way.
get paid for this bullshit. Yeah.
This is true.
So, what my favorite part of this whole entire drama was the fact that in his rebuttal, Greg Koch, who is the head of Stone Brewing, he wrote this long diatribe. Of course, he started like 4 paragraphs worth of, oh, this whole time we've been the little guy and fighting for the microbreweries and the blah, 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 blah. And we've never encountered or we've made friends with these people. Like, you always know you're talking to a dick when it's like, oh, I've tried to fuck this guy before, but now we're friends after. It's like, no, you're never friends. They just kind of gave up and you came to some kind of understanding. But, so, apparently this Saltstone Brewing just started to do a social media blast of like, these guys are trying to fuck us. We have nothing. For the love of God, someone help us. And he's trying to paint it as, you know, as we've shown before. The thing that really got me was he put a line in there about, as we've already shown in the court of law that we are the proprietors or whatever of the name Stone and Beer. And it's like, no, you're not, because your little lawsuit still didn't go to trial yet.
Doesn't work like that, yeah.
So I'm just reading this like sentence after sentence, and he wrote a a 3,000 word essay on it, and the whole time it read like he was jerking himself off as he was typing it, and I was just getting like more mad as I just kept reading and reading. So I really wanted to see, not only as a follow up to a story that we just keep following, but I'd love to see an outsider's perspective and be like, oh, this guy's a dick.
No, you can't like copyright words. Stone? That's a word. That's a noun. That's like a thing anyone can say without being copyright infringement. Like, that's bullshit.
If he made up a name, if they called their brewery like, I don't know, the fucking Doozelmites or whatever the hell, like, okay, cool, you made up a name, but like, don't just take Stone. This guy, he pissed us off before with this. Even though the Keystone thing, there might have been a little bit of like, okay, maybe. This is just now they're going out of control, and I hope there is a backlash to him doing this. Like, I hope that his fans or fans, drinkers, whatever the hell you want to call them. I hope they send them the right message saying like, yo, cool off. Stop being a dick.
And it double sucks too because Stone Brewery, they make good beers. Like I can't knock the quality of like what they put out there. It's not like they're the best shit in the world, but I've never had like a bad Stone beer, I would say. So it's like, man, like normally I can kind of separate in things like the dickhead from the product, but in this case I'm just like, fuck you. Especially like I'm obviously everyone knows who follows our page. I'm not the main video producer on the page. Like that's Brian's cross to bear. He's the main video editor and all that stuff. Every once in a while I throw my own little videos out there. And for the first time ever, I got hit by the YouTube copyright strike bug. And like I uploaded, it did the description, put in 1,000 tags, blah 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 blah, did the process, let it sit there, ready to go for Monday, and redlined. And I was like, motherfucker! Like we fight for all the views we get as it is. So last thing I need is to be copyright struck and unavailable in the rest of the world. So now I get to play the copyright game where I leave in 4 seconds of this sound clip and blah 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 and try to work my way around it. So any little copyright abuse bullshit, even now especially, I'm just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a music issue?
Yeah, it was a music list that I was putting together.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's amazing is it's usually every time we've gotten a music, a handful of times, like the biggest ones that are against it, like are usually Nintendo, Capcom. If like any music from their game is in there, Sony, yeah.
Warner Brothers got me this time.
But you know what I've gotten randomly, like for whatever reason, like a third party, I guess, composer of it, like that wasn't directly linked. Sometimes I get those. I'm like, that doesn't count. Like it's in the game. It's not like I overlaid the sound on top of it. It was from the game, guys. Come on.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's such a pain in the ass. Like I do like a fair amount of Vampire the Masquerade content, and like the trailer that they put out for Bloodlines 2 has Mac the Knife in it. And so like I was trying to just do like a trailer reaction and claimed because of the music, and it's like, come on, this is bullshit. Like
yeah, sometimes like there are we have had a handful of videos we've made where I didn't even care, like there was licensed music and I just said okay, then we just won't monetize it. Like usually we'll let it sit, but a few times we've done those power hours where like we said we drink every 60 seconds, and we do it with video game music, and those get flagged where I'm like, I just want to leave the playlist up so people can download it. Like I'm not trying to monetize it, I'm not trying to do nothing, like it's there for whatever. And yeah, it just cracks me up. But then somehow people get away with uploading entire movies on YouTube. And I'm like, but you're worried about this little 6 seconds of music I have in this video.
And now it's like extra bullshit because I was just like, fine, like turn monetization off. I don't care. But they're like, oh, you're still restricted around the world except for the United States. It's like, motherfucker, like I don't want to make just let me put my video out there. So now, so it doesn't get view raped, basically, I have to go in there and still do the same effort. So I guess I'll try to get my 3 cents for this video, whatever it's gonna make. Like, it's not the point. I just want to get the shit out there.
Yeah. Pam, by the way, I did want to ask, what are your thoughts for Bloodlines 2?
I have growing concerns. Just like of all the writers they've been getting rid of, like they apparently fired Brian Mitsoda, which was one of the major writers of the first one, and then Kara Ellison was no longer with them, which is also making me think like the writing is done, they're just doing other shit now, and they don't want to pay writers anymore, which, you know, kind of sucks, but like
sucks, but yeah, hopefully that's the case.
Like yeah, so I don't know.
Well,
like
I say I'm sorry, but did they say when is it coming out? I know
There's
it's
no
2001.
Date.
Yeah.
No, they after the last delay, they haven't given an actual date, but like I haven't pre-ordered the game or anything because I'm just not really a pre-order person, but I am feeling a little concerned. I also don't like that it's only first person because I really like the third person in the first game. So like I'm hoping the writers did their thing and they just didn't need any more narrative development, and it's all like bug fixing and like graphics and shit. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was concerning. And how do you feel about the fact that it is going to be on consoles? Because that seems a little odd to me. Like, especially because it's also not just next-gen consoles. It's current-gen, next-gen, and obviously PC.
See, I'm generally fine with it being on consoles. Like, thinking of Bloodlines 1, the only thing where I can think this doesn't go on consoles well is the hacking minigame.
Yeah.
Because I think otherwise it could have been a console game fairly easily. So that's fine. And I generally prefer playing most games on console. So
Yeah. Yeah, this is I don't know. I'm with you there. I'm hopeful. I just hope it doesn't turn into like the Cyberpunk situation, which it probably won't, but where it gets constantly delayed and there's issue after issue. And
I just wish games wouldn't give release dates until they're like until they're
smart.
sure. Until they're sure. Like although
you
apparently
need the hype.
Cyberpunk did go gold, but like until they've like this game is finished, it's coming out in 3 weeks. Like I don't want a release date until you know.
yeah, be sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It went gold, and then they still went, oops, one more delay. They delayed it like another 2 or 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about, somebody I think had asked us, Jim, like, is there any chance that there would ever be a video game crash like from the ET days and what happened there? And that was the inverse problem. They just were like, we're going to release and we're making a release no matter what. Whereas now you have all these AAA titles that can never friggin' meet a deadline. I still don't think it could ever happen like it did back then, but like I could see people getting more and more tired of AAA titles when they do this kind of shit, like with the constant delays or missing deadlines or missing releases.
Yeah, I can understand that, especially how apparently, I don't know, I think this was just based on like an NBA game or something. Apparently the like AAA price is going up by $10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which
It's
especially
gonna be
in
$70, I think. Yeah.
especially in Canada, like currently a new game with my cat is going nuts on the back door, sorry.
That's what that was. All right. I just heard.
Yeah.
It's the
currently-
bodies in the walls.
Yeah. Currently a new game plus tax here cost I think $90.39.
Jesus.
So you added $10 onto that plus tax. That's like over $100 for a brand new video game.
Shit, Jim and I
Which,
will
like-
start importing games for you guys.
That would probably be good because
Yeah, we'll black market our
like,
friends.
it's not that bad. Like I remember paying $100 for Majora's Mask. So like that was like 20 years ago. So the fact that
Yeah.
I'm still paying the same amount for games now is like not that ridiculous, but at the same time it's like I don't want to pay $100 for a video game.
Well, that's what Jim and I said. There's NES games that were $60, and yeah, $60 has always been the price point for new games for us since we were kids, and that is the weird. Somehow, video games have never been affected by inflation or anything
Yeah.
else, and it's funny that people are bitching, and I'm like, I can see why I don't like it, but I can see why this DLC and microtransaction shit takes place. If you could get rid of all that and just say a game is $10 or $20 more, but includes all the other content, I think most gamers would be like, okay, it sucks to hear it at first, but they'd get over it pretty fast.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny you bring up Sports Pan because when I listened to your episode with Drunk Friend, you mentioned that you're a fan of football. Or at least back in the day you were.
I used to be a fan of football, yes.
So when did that drop off? What happened there?
Well, my favorite team. Well, okay, so like I was a football coach in high school. Like that was my extracurricular activity.
Yeah, you were an offensive coordinator, right?
I was, yes.
Holy shit.
And then I used to do like all sorts of shit. Like my dad loved bars. Love drinking.
Relatable.
So like I there was always like a football pool, and I was like always in the football pool, and I always did really well in it. But like at the same time, like I inherited his favorite team, which was the Redskins, which was like super racist. And or the Washington football team, as they are now known. So it just got to a point where I was like, this is all ridiculous. I'm no longer interested in this. But yeah, like what was it? ESPN NFL 2K4, which is not the popular one. 2K5 is the popular one, but that was like one of my favorite games ever. That was actually the first game I ever got on PS2 for Christmas.
Yep. So is there any part of you, though, even from a video game standpoint, where you do want to, like, you go back and play any football games? Or, like, you kind of miss that itch of watching, or, like, you know...
I do. Like, I played a couple years ago, like, one of the Madden games. I didn't like it. I don't like it at all. Maybe if 2K came out with a new football game, I would play it. But, like, I don't like the current, well, not current, 4 or 5 years ago iterations of football games on video games.
Is it because it's too simulation-y, or is it not enough for you?
I don't know what it was that made it worse, but like I love doing like the franchise mode, like doing the draft and like having all my players. Like I was a big stats person. Like while I was an offensive coordinator, part of my thing was like just doing stats for all the players. Yeah. Not because anyone asked me to, just because I like doing stats.
Like doing it. Yeah, so that makes sense. So yeah, you liking those modes, you didn't care quite as much about. Like, what Madden gets all the craze for is the gameplay. It's not about all those other things. So, yeah, it makes sense that you'd be driven towards those other ones. So, I guess, what was your opinion back in the day and even today of, like, Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl?
I don't know if I ever played that.
So,
really?
So, see, that's why I asked you, because they're strictly... I mean, there is no strategy. There's, like, 3 plays... 6 plays, whatever it is, there's almost no plays.
Just give it to Bo Jackson. Just give it to Bo Jackson and you win.
It's basically just an arcadey football game from the NES. The most popular sports game on the NES. But it's one of those where, hearing what you're saying, you love strategy. Jim and I played through all the other NES games, and there are other ones that have strategy, but they are hated. So I'm actually curious if you played those, if you would like them better than Tecmo Super Bowl.
No, I've never played those. I always really liked the... See, as much as I was just like about the strategy in the back end when I was playing the 2K ones, I still had to play every single game. Like, I could not give up that control and be just like auto-generate this game outcome. Like, that was like, no, I had to play the game because I could win the game if I played it myself, whereas I might lose if I let the computer do it. But no, like my sports video games were like, that was my big one. And before that it was like RBI baseball because Roberto Alomar was on it. And that was like the only Canadian player in any sports game.
Now, Pam, you do know as Philadelphia residents, I have to eternally hate the Blue Jays for beating us in 1993, right? And crushing my childhood as a lowly 6-year-old, 7-year-old.
That's fine. That's fine.
Like I accept it. She's like, I don't care about baseball.
What's the Philadelphia team?
Phillies.
We beat you? In the World Series?
Yeah, in 93.
And then 94 was the Braves?
Maybe?
Or 92 was the Braves?
I don't know. I'm a very fair weather baseball fan. I can watch baseball when my home team is good, but if they suck, I'm just like, well, no.
That's how I am with sports in general. It's like, are we in the playoffs? Cool, nope. I'm on board. Are we not? I don't give a shit.
Now, being Canadian, you're legally required to enjoy hockey, obviously. So, do you actually get invested in that, or you're just like, eh?
If we're in the playoffs.
Okay, fair.
She's like, that's it.
Yeah, I don't care otherwise. Although every time we get to the playoffs, we just like fuck it up royally. So like, what's even the point of caring?
Don't worry, the Flyers. They know that all too well as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Flyers and the Maple Leafs have had a rough they've had a rough go.
Yeah. I remember the last time I was like watching hockey, we were playing Boston, and like we were ahead. We're doing so good. And then we fucking lost. And
You're like, what happened? You fucking went to auto-generate the score. What are you doing?
Exactly. Why did you give up control?
Yeah, you sons of bitches.
Okay, so we have to send Pam a more recent Madden game. We can do it from like 4 years ago, so it'll be a $2 game. Then we can make a drinking game out of it. Do it over Xbox Live.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, what I would love is we send her. Oh my God, why can't I think of the name, Jim? What is the really arcadey game?
Tecmo.
During the PS2 era.
Blitz.
Blitz.
NFL
Yeah.
Blitz,
That was what was the hockey equivalent of
Hits.
Hits. Yeah, so it was the same company. Yeah, they weren't fucking creative with the names. They're like Stone.
Blitz, Hits, the Bigs, and
they're like
what
we
was
got the
basketball
Z.
one?
You add a
Shit.
Z to the end of
Blitz,
shit, and we
hits,
got it.
Splits.
Yeah, it was like Hits, Blitz, the Bigs, and then NBA Street. It's like, okay, they just gave up on the names by that point.
But no, those games super arcadey, super goofy, but goddamn are they fun. But yeah. Oh God.
And actually, Pam, what do you call it? When it comes to the new generations, now, you made a video a little while back with showing off like your Xbox and your 360, like big ass collections with them. You go on PlayStation, you go on Xbox Series.
I have a Series X.
Oh, already? Shit.
Got it. Nice.
Good for
Ooh,
you.
Wait. You do have it. So that actually, damn, that's a perfect transition because the next one, I want to see if this is as ridiculous as we think it is. Have you ever?
Kotaku!
Yeah. Have you ever burned your soul by reading a lot of stuff from Kotaku like we have?
I'm generally fine with what Kotaku writes.
Damn it, Pam! You were supposed to say, yeah, it's terrible.
It's just rage bait, goddamn. But
It's this one. Did you? So the article it's linked below. But
I read it because it was linked. Yes.
It literally says Xbox Series X has too many horrifying holes. That's the title of the article.
See, I'm
Jim?
fine with this article existing.
Careful.
As a person who's not afraid of anything, I don't understand any phobia. But I understand that this is a phobia with like people complained about the new iPhone and the like camera lens setup on the back.
three little.
And-
Wait,
yeah,
what?
like people
they did?
like that was a thing.
What?
That was a thing where people complained about the camera lens setup and how it gave them what's it called? Trichtophobia?
Hold on. Yeah, I couldn't pronounce.
wait, was it the same one, or is it just because it wasn't like symmetrical?
tryptophobia. No.
It's
The
just
new
like
one that has
small-
the three. It looks like the
small
Predator, like
circles,
little-
small
yeah.
holes, like
Right.
fly eyes. Like people,
Heh.
some people
Damn
find
it,
that
Jen.
very uncomfortable. And it's like I don't understand it at all, but apparently it's a thing.
I'm like you. I can appreciate. I don't have obviously fear of small holes, but what doesn't make sense to me is like, dude, you were paying $600, whatever you paid for the Series X. You knew what it looked like. Do you really need to complain about? Like, is that the toughest part of your life? Is seeing holes on top of the console that you just bought?
I
That's
mean, I don't
goddamn
think
crazy.
it's the toughest part of their life. I think it's just editorial content that they're looking for. Like, I honestly think the top of the Xbox and like moving it and making it green and black and like different colors is like kind of cool. But at the same time, it's just in my entertainment center. Like, I don't look at those holes on the top of it.
Yeah, it's like you said. You're being much nicer than I am. I just
I think I wouldn't have been as mad if it wasn't like their main like first article about the Series X. Like they didn't go like straight like review, or they didn't have what they did last week with the PlayStation one, where it's like a review, but then
PlayStation
like
5.
the five paragraph diatribe about the
Did I
current state
not
of the
do
world.
a review where they also talked about the election, or was that a different?
That was the PS5 one.
that was a PS5.
Oh.
Kind of. It was like election and state of the world and corona and jobs and blah 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 blah.
See, I'm fine with people doing that kind of content about video games. Like, I see no reason to separate video games and politics, but I also am not afraid of anything, so its phobias are strange to me.
What I can appreciate with the article is you read the title, like I just said, it lets you know what you're about to read.
Exactly. So if you're
so
not
at least there's
interested,
that.
you just don't read it.
Yeah. The problem we had with the PS5 one, it was basically like, oh, here's what we think of the PS5. And it became half an article about political stuff. And I'm like, if it had been what his whole driving point was, which was basically, if you can afford a PS5, that's your privilege. Like, if they did something like that and that was a title, I think I would have been fine with it. But it kind of okey-doked you, and you read like halfway through, and you're like, what is this? This turned into a poli-sci paper. Like, what the hell is going on?
See, titles are difficult because the person who writes the article generally is not the person who writes the title. So it makes it hard. Like, even, like, take my Dino Ricky review where I said it's the worst NES game. Which I personally, like, it is probably the NES game that made me the most mad. So, like, it's not inaccurate. But at the same time,
yeah.
I wrote that title so that people would click on the video.
Of
so
course.
that people would have a
you gotta play
reaction
the
to
game.
the video. You have to play the game. So it's like, the person who's writing the article is not necessarily writing that title, and they're not necessarily like challenging people in that way. So, like, people take the title very seriously, I found. Like, so many people, my last video, were like, this isn't the worst. Where's Waldo is worse, and Color a Dinosaur is worse, and, like, I guess, like, Dino Ricky, though, like, fools you. At the first, it's like, oh, this is an okay game, and then it's just like, fuck you, lily pads, which is why I say it's the worst game on the NES. And, like, it's not a clickbait. I mean, it is a clickbait title, but it's not inaccurate. Like, it is the NES game that has made me the most frustrated and most made me want to smash it with a hammer. But, like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I could have just said, Adventures of Dino Ricky NES review like I do with a lot of my videos.
But also,
you want to make a point and get that little zip in there.
Exactly.
No, but here's the deal. Where I completely defend your title is you added a question mark. Like, you're not stating it. It's not a declarative statement. You're saying the worst game in NES. Like, so
But still clever where if they write in worst NES game, it still shows up.
Well, of course. But no, but that's my point is, like, if I read your title, obviously, I read your title, and I saw the question mark, I'm like, this is obviously her saying, like, is this really the worst? Because this is what you play is the worst? We've made that mistake of, like, we doing the best or worst of anything.
That fucking baseball video we made 7 years ago.
It just amazes me. Like, people take it so serious. And here's the deal. We played through all 22 baseball games on the NES. Played through every single one. No matter what answer we get.
And we maybe spent like 2 hours on each one because they're NES baseball games. They're not that deep.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, you can't ever... But at least people knew what we were driving at. Like, yeah, we could have said our favorite NES baseball games, which would have been more indicative of what the video was. But yeah, it's easier just to say the best. But I at least
that's
like some kind of
You don't say, in my opinion, this is the best or worst video game on this console. Like, that's not a catchy title. Like, you have to assume some kind of media competence where when you say, is this the worst? Is this the best? People know, in my opinion, I don't have to state that. Like, I don't have to put IMO, like, in brackets. Like,
it's a Reddit post. All of life is a Reddit post at this point. You have to hit the rules and the flare, or else you just get struck in copyright and banned.
Yeah. From now on, Jim, like, all of our things, no matter what game.
When you talk about your... I mean, they are your opinions, and your opinions are biased, and that's fine. Like, people are like, oh, this review is biased, and that's bad. Like, everyone's review is biased. Like, so you just have to say, you state it as a fact. You don't state it as Well, in my humble opinion,
Yeah.
this is what I think of this game. Like that's
This is my opinion on this video game. I have no strong opinions either way. Why
Jim,
am I doing this ASMR?
Every time you do that, it makes me think of the Whisper song, Jim.
Oh, Jesus.
But no, yeah, that is a good point. Like I said, this article, as soon as I read the title that Jim shared with us, I went, "Oh Jesus, what is this gonna?" I knew it was gonna be. So the other one being so blindsided by being tied to the big fulcrum of this is a political stance on why you owning a PS5 is bad. I was like, okay, that's not what I thought. I thought this was just gonna be, is a PS5 worth the money? Which is what I think it was titled. So that's what threw me off. But no, you definitely made a good point there. So I'll retract some of my hatred for his Kotaku, but not all of it.
God. And fuck.
All right, so we are back, and before we hit up our final topic, what's everyone think of their latest drink? Pam, I know you said you were switching over, so what is the newest one treating you like?
I'm on the brick.
She's doing good.
I haven't had too much at all. Brickworks Rosé Cider. I think this is from a place I actually used to work. I used to do QA on video games, and I'm pretty sure this is where that is from. The distillery district of Toronto.
Oh, shit.
And it's rosé cider. It is not mixed with wine like the last one that I didn't like, so it's
Much better.
better. But I think the sour is still my favorite that I've had today, and this is almost gone, so we better hurry up.
Yeah, I would say for future reference, probably the rosé ciders. Maybe stick away because you don't seem to like either two of those, and everyone I know has tried those. They don't translate well for whatever reason.
No. I should just stick with my favorite ciders, just like the regular, just apples. And booze.
Just stick to apples. That's right. And what about you, Chambers? Did you stick with Mad Elf?
Oh, yep. I'm 3 Mad Elfs in, and I'm feeling good.
Oh, so
Mad Elf Classic. It's super smooth. Goes down very easy. 11%. So, yeah, you're feeling good by this point. 5 anymore, work will be a nightmare tomorrow. So, I'm stopping. Gonna be a good boy.
I'm and I finished my third Campfire Amplifier. I've said enough. This beer is delicious, and it really is something I could see sitting around my fire pit just drinking this outdoors. So I'm all for it. Delicious, delicious beer.
Brian, could you put your beer in a stick and put it on the fire?
No, Jim, it's a goddamn liquid, and I would not do that. You son of a bitch.
How do you like your campfire marshmallows, though? Do you like it warmly toasted? Like, I like to fucking burn the shit out of the outside of mine.
Do you let it actually catch fire and then you have to
it
blow
catches
out
fire, and then I wait for it to be all black, and then I blow it out.
So yeah, I'm like that because especially if you're putting it in the s'mores, like it's gonna get squished anyway, and you lose a lot of that. So yeah,
and you still get the goo, so you don't have to keep it. You can have the char in the end for that extra flavor there.
Sometimes I char the top, and then I take the charred layer and I eat it, and then I just fucking char the next layer too.
You double char.
Yeah.
Pam's the inception of chars. She just keeps going.
I like fire.
Yeah, that's something I've been known. I've had this.
That's what Justin's saying.
No. I've been obsessed with fire since I was a kid, and I'll never forget. Getting in trouble. Well, Pam doesn't know, Jim, so shut the fuck up.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's true. No, you'll enjoy this.
So literally, from the time I was a kid, when I first realized, a magnifying glass on dry leaves that makes fire, and my parents would be like, "Stop. Okay, keep it small, keep it in this." But then it was I moved on, matches and this and that, and it would be I would if I was in a bathroom and the toilet paper roll was done and it was a little cardboard piece, I'd light that on fire, put it under water, but then hide it so no one would find out. They're like, this is just smoldering in the trash can. And the dumbest thing me and my friend did was we took an orange juice container, filled it about quarter of a way with gasoline, and
Okay. Oh, that escalates things.
yeah, and we're like, let's see if we can try and get this like flaming piece of tissue paper inside, not knowing the fumes or what are actually feeding the fire. Went to put it in. It obviously blew back. My buddy who was holding the gas can swung it towards his garage. The whole garage catches fire. So we're kicking it, like doing whatever. We're cleaning it. His parents are like very strict. We're like, oh shit, we got to clean up this place. We put like Febreze and everything. And the parents came home. They were like, why does it smell like you guys been cleaning? We're like, oh, we spilled something. They're like, so you cleaned the whole bottom of the house? Till this day, like we told them years later, they're like, is that why we had a kick-in mark on our goddamn garage? Like, and ever since then, like I've had fire department called on me because I built a fire pit in my backyard and I burned way too much stuff, but Jim knows I can literally every weekend I put it.
You've always been a destructive boy.
Yeah,
Nice.
I make fire all the time, so I appreciate that, Pam.
When I was in like end of elementary school, beginning of high school, if I lit all the candles in my room, I would set off the smoke detector. So
I had the parents who, like, if I would light some candles in my bedroom just for some ambiance or whatever, he'd come in, you're gonna set the fucking house on fire, stupid! So that didn't last too goddamn long.
And Jim, you never lit candles in your room.
I lit candles in
what are
my
you
room.
talking about? No, you did not.
Yes, I did. Then you get called stupid enough times and you stop. Like a healthy upbringing. So it's fine.
you didn't have the patchouli incense.
No. I was a good little boy I was a good boy to a fault until college, when you should probably take things a little more seriously because it's a lot more expensive. That's when I had all of my fun. So that's when I decided to almost get kicked out of things and fail like half the classes that I was in and shit like that. So we have a lot of good stories where like we talked about this fucking last night. There was one year where we all had the same class, and Brian and I were both having a little bit of trouble in this one class. So in one test, I think it was the midterm, I got a 30 and Brian had like a 37. And the teacher wanted to talk to us. So she talks to Brian and he had a 37. She's like, this is pretty bad, but I think you can recover. I'm only 7 points less at a 30. And she went, ooh, that's bad. She's like, you should probably quit right now.
Yeah, she's like, just drop the class. But Jim, in all fairness, you gotta admit, I still helped get you through college.
Oh, you for sure did. I'm indebted to a bunch of you bastards for my piece of paper that's very expensive. So,
but all right, hold on. So all right. Which is better? God damn it! I was completely lost because I really want to hear what Pam has to say about this because she said she has a specific opinion. So obviously, we always talk about between two genres, two games, two whatevers. And this week, Jim put up very good ones. Which is better between MMOs and JRPGs? And we know, Jim, you hate JRPGs. So, but I first want to hear what Pam has to say.
I put this up here almost specifically just for Pam because I know she loves these.
So, I loved JRPGs as a teenager. That was like one of my favorite genres. Although as an adult, I'm like, these take too long. A lot of wasting of my time. I don't love it. But then MMOs, I played World of Warcraft for 9 years of my life, which was a lot. And I'm going to say JRPGs are better than MMOs. MMOs just suck the life out of you. They're so social, they so rely on other people. I was a guild master for my last 3 years in World of Warcraft, and it was just so much pressure and so much you can't leave because everyone is relying on you, and it was just a lot. And the games, very repetitive, not all that much fun once you take a step back to look at them. And even though JRPGs are generally too long, they end.
That is a good reason.
Yeah. No, I was going to go JRPGs for the pretty much the reasons you were saying, but the bigger reason for me was that the thing Jim hates is I like a good story. And JRPGs do a good job, shut up, Jim, of delivering a concise, like they give you a complete story. Whether you love them or hate them, there's a lot of thought put into it. And yes, you can develop your squad or whatever, however you want. But at the end of the day, you get a very compelling story. But yeah, the too long thing was always the biggest fall for me. The MMOs I never got. And as someone who even does appreciate modern console games that can be very like multiplayer or whatever, the social aspect, like I'm someone who I did just like, I'll just want to sit down and play a game for whatever. And whenever I would get tagged into something where it became too much of like, oh, you have to get on at this time to do this raid, to do this thing. Like, I'm like, now it feels like a fucking chore. Like, I feel like I'm working. Like, I don't feel like I'm just enjoying a game. Yeah. So that always made me kind of be like, I love the idea of MMOs. I hate how they're executed. And more importantly, I hate how it became social competition. And it wasn't for me. So I think JRPGs are better.
Yeah, I guess overall JRPGs are better, but since I put so little time after a few hours into both, like if you play an MMO by yourself, you can do it to a certain like level cap, and that's only like level 10 before you're just completely outclassed by everything. But that's the point where I always got bored and just stopped playing anyway. So I'm in that position where I just don't like RPGs in general. So I almost like the more pick up and play nature of an MMO as opposed to a JRPG, whereas I guess if you're going to be serious about it, then you have to like coordinate times and shit like that. So yeah, I guess I can do a JRPG at my own pace, and I've probably beaten more of them at the same time. But like I like the only JRPG like Final Fantasy 1 is the only Final Fantasy I've ever played all the way through, and that's like no story and all grinding. And like for me that was fine. Like I like just doing dumb battles and minimal story and just let me get through the whatever game that it is. So if you could do that without the social construct needs, like that would be a perfect game for me. Or playing like Phantasy Star Online by myself. Like you just have to grind the ever living shit out of it to get through it, but you can do it as long as you just keep grinding. So
Jim, you're a creek and Pam and I are the ocean. That's all right. You're not that deep. See what I did there, Jim?
That was very creative.
Analogy.
What a beautiful analogy, Brian.
Jim, just appreciate game stories.
I can appreciate stories. I've been sucked into stories before, but it takes like I can't just have like the generic weeby world's about to end. You need to have the 4 crystals to save the blah 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 blah. Everything's gonna end. Blah 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 blah.
Jim, you name one story from a game that was compelling for you.
Fallout 3.
Damn it! You went with only one RPG that you've played.
But I've played enough RPGs, and I went with the one that you actually like. So I had to
exactly.
I had to cut your argument off at the knees.
You son of a bitch.
Starting Fallout 3 would basically find your dad, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it's the strongest story overall.
I mean, no. The problem with saying Fallout 3 is because there's so many stories. And I know what he's doing. He's just doing it because he knows I love, obviously, Fallout games. You son of a bitch.
I mean, like, besides, I've talked about it before, but, like, I played, like, 10 hours of Final Fantasy 6, and then I got bored and stopped. I played 10 hours of Final Fantasy 7, and I got bored and stopped. I played a couple hours of Chrono Trigger, and then I got bored and stopped. Like, all, like, the mainline JRPGs I've tried to start, and I just can never, like, keep enough of my interest in it to, like, keep going with it. It's just not a thing for me, I guess. But I try, but I keep trying and trying and trying. Like, I like the cyberpunky ones more. Like, I like the Shadowrun games that we did. I like the story in them. Maybe I like the setting for them more. Maybe I would like Cyberpunk more than I would like a Dragon Age or something like that. I don't know.
Jim, even though you've beaten Shadowrun, I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
After doing the reviews with you, I realized you don't even really know what the hell's going on with the story. You just keep talking about setting.
I know the goddamn story of the Genesis Shadowrun.
Exactly, just the Genesis.
That's the one I grew up with, motherfucker. I didn't play the SNES one until we reviewed it.
Yeah, but you were the Shadowrun guy, and I kept trying to tell you Shadowrun Returns. It was actually a really fun game.
I didn't have a laptop that could play it at the time. Maybe I could now.
The new Shadowrun games are super good. I love Hong Kong the best. That's my favorite one.
Well, I was just shocked, like, not being a Shadowrun guy, and then Jim shows me the games, and I thought the Super NES one was better than Genesis.
Wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But then I played Returns, and I was like, oh, well, that's just way better. And
Yeah.
I loved the customization. Like, I kept telling Jim, I was like, this is the best, but he had his nostalgia for the old games. Couldn't get into the new one as much, but I was just like, dude, that one is really good. And it's funny, we talked about people hating on us. The, what was the shooter one?
The 360 PC one. Oh, that review.
Yeah,
Boy.
So did you play that one, Pam? That it was strictly a shooter.
Shadowrun?
Yeah, it was basically like a Quake 3 clone almost.
Oh, no.
So here it is. Hold on. So literally, it's just Shadowrun.
Oh, I've seen that. I've never played that.
So we played it, and we said the problem is all the other Shadowruns, you had story development, you had character creation. This one was straight up like Call of Duty with some Shadowrun elements, so it wasn't well done.
I'm an orc.
Thank you,
Call
Jim.
of Duty with hacking.
Yeah.
Not even hacking, just like spells.
We got so many people pissed off because, God forbid, we just said anything bad about any Shadowrun. We're like, we love the other ones, but this one wasn't good. So, yeah, people got quite angry, but yeah.
You mean this 2006 multiplayer online only game on the Xbox Live didn't hold up? What? Huh? Blasphemy, goddammit.
But no, I think that's pretty much a consensus. And anyone online, I would be very curious, what would be a reason why you think MMOs are better, if you think they're better? Or maybe everyone agrees JRPGs are better. I am very curious. I feel like the only argument you could make for MMOs, if it's kind of the inverse of what Pam and I were saying, which is like the social aspect. It could be the gathering of people. It's an excuse to get with your buddies, like make strategies, do this, do that. Maybe that's something people really, really enjoy.
Yeah, if you're not a weird weeb and you actually talk to people, this might be the one for you.
I mean, there are fun things like gathering 40 people or 25 people and executing one strategy against a boss. Like, there's, something satisfying about that. But, like, all the effort around it is just so much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you're like a guild master or whatever that was.
Yeah.
And Pam, I'm seeing a little pattern with you. Guildmaster, sports coordinator, like you're clearly a leader of a bunch of people. So that's so next we
and
know
it makes me
gonna...
so happy.
and next you're gonna be just tell everyone here you're gonna be a cult leader for the next.
I mean, I would do that. Yes.
All right. So if we say to the convention whenever they come back, don't drink the juice. All right.
Yep.
No,
Good to know.
I mean, the first few times the Kool-Aid will just be delicious.
Yeah. It'll be like a sour.
Yeah. It'll be good. It'll be good. Drink it.
Yeah.
Drink it.
It's his first couple
come
hits.
hang out with me.
This first couple
It's
hits are
fine.
free. It's good. Just hang out. Come on.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is start marketing Pam's Stone Rosé soda, and then it can get all kinds of marketing for both stealing Stone idea and everything else.
Yep. It's delicious. It's delicious. Drink it.
Just drink it. Don't ask questions. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
I'm gonna make an ASMR
So-
channel and drink my cider.
See, there's the ASMR fan in her coming out.
Yeah. There it is.
I love ASMR. I watch it every night.
She's gonna have
I think I see the next level is as you're doing your makeup, you're going to be doing ASMR while you're doing your makeup, so you can make a third video. I like it.
Oh, Jesus
And
Christ.
selling the cider.
She's just combining all the degeneracy into one.
She's a goddamn marketing genius. So with that, we do want to say, Pam, we truly appreciate you coming on here. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thank you so
sitting here
much.
talking with you. We definitely want to get you back on in the future, but before we go, we do want to say, please, once again, plug away anywhere anyone can find you, and the links are below.
Yeah. Watch my YouTube channel. It is called CannotBeTamed. If you're into cosmetics and makeup, watch my channel Cosmetic DLC. And that's good. No one needs to follow me on social media. I have enough followers. Thank you.
It's a better life.
Yeah.
So with that, everyone else, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit subscribe and give us a 5-star. Even if you want to bash us on iTunes, please make sure, just give us a rating, hit subscribe. And until next time, everyone, cheers.
Cheers, eyes.